Everybody, it's me, Andrew. Get out into nature and tune in for yourself. Resonate with the Earth's electromagnetic field via 432 hertz, the universal frequency. Balance out psychologically and emotionally, and to further strengthen your brain and your heart's coherence as well. Get a plant based diet going for yourselves today, and to nurture yourself right back into life. We are literally herbivores in our nature. Further balance out your physical body's pH level and to get with alkalinity. Then you can generate some static electricity, sending me some love telepathically, set attention to your mind, and set intention to communicate. That is all there is to telepathy. You are now tuning in to Great Days. So today I wanted to talk about peacefulness, and peace being a vital sign of prosperity. Okay, so let's get into this. Um, so peacefulness is very vital because without peace, things wouldn't really be able to fluently sustain themselves, right? So when I'm talking about peace being a vital sign of prosperity, I'm literally talking about if you are peaceful within yourself, or if you are somebody who is abundant with peacefulness, then you're able to reflect prosperity, right? And this is simple because prosperity is peace. Okay, prosperity is wealth, and wealth, it not only has to be material, or material possession, or even physical currency. More so, it's a state of being. Um, prosperity is a state of being, and it's a certain intensity of wealth within oneself. And wealth is literally a state of health, right? Because you can have material possession, you can have a lot of things, but if you're on the verge of death, or if you're just literally too physically sick or too physically weak, then you aren't going to enjoy any of that. You can't physically enjoy any of that because you're not healthy enough to exuberate the enjoyment of the material things that you have accumulated within your life. So before you are able to see the material possessions as what wealth is, in order to enjoy those and see and conceptualize them as wealth, you need to be in a state of health, so you can enjoy them. Otherwise, it's going to be more of a struggle to enjoy the things, right? So that's kind of like a lyrical gateway to the realization that prosperity is a state of being, not physical wealth, right? Even though it includes physical wealth, but physical wealth comes easily to people who are in that state of being, you know, um, if they're choosing so to do, you know, um, and it's also relative. It's very relative as well, because you can have little things and you can experience them in a very, very saturated way, meaning you can have one cup of hot chocolate, or you can have a joint or something, and it can be absolutely richness for you, and it's just a little bit of whatever it is, you know uh, and then somebody else can have a lot of that same thing, and it's not as saturated for them, so it's very relative in that way, because it's all an inner perception that is lingering the conceptual relativity, right? Because it's been conceptualized and built into our complexities and habitualized, right? So let me see. Um, Prosperity before material possession, or before physical wealth, is just a state of being, So peacefulness, when I'm talking about peacefulness, I'm talking about when you are peaceful, when you're able to be peaceful within yourself. That's a clear, vital indication that you know, or you have been able to to realize or experience that inner prosperity, right? So I wanted to go off a little into what prosperity is. It's a state of being. Now, within that state of being, you can most definitely accumulate material possessions. You can become wealthy, right? But richness is like the fragrance of the fruit, or or the potency of the fruit. Whenever you're eating a fruit and you're saying it's very rich, you're saying it's very nourished. It's been nourished by the earth, right? So it's very rich, right? This candle has a very rich fragrance to it. So you see what I'm saying? Candles and fruits and vegetables, or all of these different things, they don't accumulate money. So richness and wealth is not money. It's an inner state of being, or it's at the very least chemical, you know, um, because you can say that a fruit is very rich in flavor, or it's very rich in its scent, you know. So that's what richness is. Richness is that saturation, um, and it's synonymous with a state, a status, because the fruit's status is richness. The state is richness. The fruit state is richness. Status is richness. Okay, so the status of the fruit, richness. And it doesn't have a single dime to it, doesn't have anything to it unless somebody sold it to another person, you know. But other than that, if you're picking a fruit from a tree, which is going to be more rich because it hasn't been handled by people, but it's straight from the source of its nourishment, then you can easily come into that wavelength or that frequency to have the realization of what richness actually is. It's not a pile of gold. It can be. I'm not saying it's not. Okay, I am saying it is not, but it's not completely not a pile of gold. It's just, it doesn't need to be habitualized to that degree to think that that's what richness is. Richness is the is the flavor, of life. The experience itself is where you're going to touch upon richness, right? That's what I'm saying. If you're ill and you don't have the physical will to be able to enjoy the things that you have accumulated for yourself, then there's no richness there, you know, because the experience is slowly doling away, and you're slowly on the urge or the verge of death, right? So let me see. Um, the the peacefulness is a sign of that prosperity, and that prosperity is a state of being, which includes the richness. So there's more to prosperity than just richness as well, uh, because it's a state of being, right? Whenever you're just being, you can realize, you come into a certain state of realization, and prosperity is blossoming within you, or it's emanating from within you. You're prosperous. It's a feeling. It's a coloration, or it's a saturation. It's a geometry. It's Prosperity is succession. It's many different things, because it's something that happens of itself, right? That you can come into realization of. But when you're able to realize the prosperity, peace is going to exuberate, or you're going to be able to flow into peacefulness, a very, very deep peacefulness, and that is wealth, because that's health. Whenever you're peaceful, you're easily discriminated as healthy, at least psychologically. you know I mean, you could, because you can be on, let's say, your deathbed, and you look very, very peaceful, right? But that's just because the energy is kind of subtilizing, because you're about to leave the body, right? So everything goes into a calming, a peacefulness. But you can subside into this peacefulness as you're able to coincide with realization. And realization is very, very, very natural, happens uh, to everybody inevitably, right? As long as you're able to connect with yourself on an intimate level. And in order to connect with yourself on an intimate level, you got to balance yourself out. And you balance yourself out by grounding yourself and centering yourself in the now. Centering and balancing are synonymous, they're one and the same. So if you're able to center yourself, or balance yourself, ground yourself, you're going to be easeful, and you're going to be very, very peaceful within yourself. And you're going to come into a higher energy level, which is the same as a level of health, right? Whenever you're low on health, you're whenever you're low on health, or your health is very low, you're on the verge of death, right? Like in a video game, you need you have HUDs to tell you that you have a health bar, or that you need health, right? The HUDs tell you you got a health bar, or they show you got a health bar. But if it's low, you need health, and you got to find health, otherwise you're gonna die, right? But then a lot of people have been regularized, or they have been conditioned to live on the in a very low vibrational state, or a very low health state, right? And this is what society is teaching the people, that it's all right to live in a very low vibration, a very low health status, right? So you can easily just pick up your health, and you don't even need to change anything other than allowing things to be, because change is inevitable. And change, even though you don't need to necessarily change anything to come into prosperity, or a health, or even peacefulness, you can just let things be, and change is inevitable. It's going to happen anyway. So you don't need to intensely effort yourself into changing anything, because change happens. Um, and that's for everybody. That's the law, or that's what it is. Everything is changing. A flower blossoms, and it degrades. You know, And no two flowers are the same, even though they share a lot of different statuses, a lot of different, they share a lot of different things. They're not truly identical, right? So there's change. So peacefulness, if you know peacefulness, if you can show peacefulness, if you are very peaceful within yourself, then you're very prosperous as well, right? Because that's prosperity, peacefulness. You want to come into a certain level of prosperity or a certain state of prosperity so that you can one day know absolute peacefulness, right? And no matter what, no matter what you're doing to obtain, or no matter what you're doing to grasp, or no matter what you're doing to acquire or manifest, whatever it is, you're going to be in it for peace, because that's the inevitability of it, and that's what's going to come anyway, right? So you can find peace in the chaos. You can find peace in the tragic. You can find peace in everything, because there is peace in everything. Um, you can find peace in the destruction. You can find peace in the fast, the fast lives. You can find peace in everything, right? So you're gonna find peace in everything, because it's a necessity. It's like food and water. You need peace in order to grow healthily, right? And it carries itself out if you're able to kind of just pierce into interpenetrate the thoughts, or even the breath, kind of a meditative state. You're gonna find that there's very deep peace within that, to dissolve away in between the breaths, or in between the words, or in between the thought, or in between the heart's beat. That spaciousness is peacefulness, because there's nothing, it's nothingness, and nothingness is peace, right? So that's also prosperity. Um, and that's going to be it for today's video. I do thank everybody for watching. Once again, peace out, one love, and have a great evening.